All right. If you hear that funky background music and it's Tuesday night and it's 8 p.m., that can mean it's time for one thing, and that is Comic Book School Live, the place that you go to find out about the craft and business of making comics. Tonight we got a pretty big show, and it is a pretty big one for Deanna in particular, because Deanna not only completely organized this show, is also going to be helping us take the lead, because for some reason Mike Fasolo felt like he just needed a night off, and he was like, let Deanna handle it. So Deanna, you ready? You ready for your big debut as the go boss?
Sure, let's go.
You're the go boss.
I'm ready for it.
I've got my we hear that ACDC is coming around, so I'm wearing my colors.
Oh, nice.
And you were just telling me a little known secret about yourself, that you are a Golden Girls fanatic, and of course the Golden Girls Thug Life.
Golden Girls.
Certainly is something I didn't know about you, but I think yeah, pretty excited. We got two big guests. They're going to be giving us a whole lot of information. But first, about me, my name is Buddy Scalera, and I'm a writer, a comic book publisher, and an educator. If you know my name, you might have known it from Wizard, Richie Rich, X-Men, Photo Reference, and all those other fun things. And if you know this name, it's because you probably read The Beat or used to read Wizard magazine. Deanna Destito, co-host, superstar, and managing editor. I'm going to actually do the applause for you because, yeah, there you go. I like the little pose. So looking good, but we have some awesome guests tonight. So I'm going to see if I can get the slides right. Hold on. Let's see if I do this right.
Okay.
All right, here we go, because we're doing this without Mike. All right, let's bring on our first guest. First guest is Sarah Litt. Welcome to the show, Sarah. Hold on, let's try the cheers again. There we go. All right, Deanna, it's all you. Give us the introduction to Sarah.
Sure. Sarah is an editor for a lot of companies, a lot of work in the industry. DC Vertigo. Currently senior editor at Ahoy Comics. I actually met Sarah when she was working for Black Mask. It was a mini-series Devil's Die, right? That's the one that we met on and I covered. And so a lot of work, a lot of small press and large press, Princeton Review even. Yes. But yeah, very knowledgeable in editing and editorial, how to craft a story, how to make it work, all that good stuff.
Sarah, is there any connection between what you've learned in comics and the Princeton Review? I was just curious because I saw the Princeton Review. I'm like, that something is different than the others. One thing is different than the other.
Is there something I learned? All freelancers are basically the same. They have no concept of time, and it just makes you really good at pub quiz. Just all that random knowledge that you need, like the scientific and the pop culture.
I'll take that. We're going to go. That's correct. And so, and for our next guest, we're going to be introducing, I'm going to pull him up to the stage first. Please welcome Adrian Wassel. Let me do the cheering. Hold on. I got it. There's a lot going on running the control panel and doing all this. This is why Deanna is going to do the most of the talking. Deanna, tell us who Adrian is.
Sure. Adrian is one of the founding members and also editor-in-chief of Vault. Vault does a lot of genre books. They do sci-fi, horror, fantasy. They also have a music imprint with some big music guests. And actually their latest one is Big Rig, which Adrian, you write with Post Malone on that one, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And Barbaric, big book, tons of publicity on. We do a lot of coverage of Barbaric. Everyone loves that book.
Yeah, that's one of our most beloved series. Yeah.
Yes. I and Vault, one of my beats at the Beat is Vault. So that's kind of how I got to know the company really well. I work very closely with them. And actually I've referenced the plot on the show prior, when I think it was the Halloween episode. I used that as one of my reference comics because we were talking. No, the plot.
The plot.
Yeah.
I watched that episode and
Did you?
rather enjoyed it. Yes.
Yeah.
I loved listening to it. Everything
Yeah.
you were saying about creating atmosphere was spot on. It was really fun to sit there and be like, aha, a very keen reader.
Yes,
So,
yes.
thank you, Deanna.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, so they do a lot of cool stuff, and Adrian is primarily the editor, but he does a lot of the writing as well and overseeing of the company.
You know, when Deanna first pitched me on Vault, I didn't realize how many books I've read of Vault and how much you put out and how many cool things that you've been able to do. And I was like, wait, like, why didn't we do this sooner? So, and then Sarah, like I said, I know your face. Obviously, I know your name. I've seen it. And I'm just delighted to have both of you on. But Sarah, it's pretty late for you. What time of the night is it for you? And what kind of sacrifice have you made for your art?
It's 1 a.m. I didn't sacrifice too much. I did take a nap, so I'm slightly functional, or more than I might have been. But yeah, and my sister was kind enough to call me to wake me up, just in case the alarm failed. Although,
wait, but so where are you calling? Where are you dialing in from? Portugal?
I'm in Lisbon. I'm in Portugal.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And Adrian, where are you dialing in from?
Montana. Not quite as cool as Portugal, but I like it.
Montana's mighty cool.
It's beautiful.
I agree. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. All right, so let's get right into it because I'm thinking people. Oh, hold on. One of your proteges wanted to say hello. The surreal Ari A.A. Rubin is saying hello to you, Sarah.
Hey, Ari, how's it going?
Okay, now Matthew Giff says, is Big Rig the spiritual successor to US-1, the world famous legendary Marvel Bronze Age comic?
It has a little. I wouldn't say fully spiritual successor, but it's definitely there in the DNA.
Fair enough. Okay, here we go. All right. So, by the way, when I posted what editors want, Stephen Grant actually jumped right in and added a comment. He said, my old stand-up routine, editors don't know what they want. They only know what they don't want. And what they don't want is this, in ascending order of importance. They don't want bad work. They don't want late work. They don't want to lose their jobs. And that's what editors don't want. So a little commentary from Stephen Grant, and I verified it. It is that Stephen Grant. So there's some credibility to it.
It's not that
all right.
We certainly don't want late work.
No, nobody likes late work. All right.
Bad work you can work with. Bad work you can work with. That's an editor's job, is to take some bad work and make it better.
Yeah.
It's true.
But Sarah, if you ever figure out how to fix late work and turn back time,
late work,
please let me know.
Late work demands daily emails.
I have a question about late work. So where do you think, or do you see, where does the clog tend to happen in the process? Is there a spot where things start to, like, you're on target with your time frame and then it just stops? Like, is there a typical spot where that happens? Or it doesn't matter, depends on the project?
It depends on the project, I think. I mean, writers are often, because they've got all these ideas that they have to put down on paper, like, they can be, at least with the first few issues, they can be pretty smooth. And then sometimes with artists, it happens because they can be very, I don't want to say precious, but they demand so much of themselves that making a mistake for them is just so untenable that they are like, oh no, like, this has to be perfect before I send it. And I'm like, it's okay.
I would say that it happens in a variety of places across projects, but you definitely learn some warning signs as you're editing. Communication breakdowns early on, between team members, almost always means something's going to be late somewhere. And then, you know, additionally, I would say having worked with a ton of new artists who've produced incredible work, long form, the first time you're doing it, it's really easy as an artist to be like, I can do 6 issues and I can maintain this pace. And if you've not done 6 or 12 or 18 or 24 issues before, when month 30 rolls around of working on the same project, it can be really, really, really daunting to sit down and draw again. And that sort of burnout, even with the best, most incredible, most diligent artists, you have to build in time for them to breathe, because that's going to wear on anyone.
Sure. Okay.
Awesome. We did get a shout out for Sarah. Sarah, thank you. Victor says, thank you for sacrificing your sleep to share the knowledge. So Victor is actually quite a good artist. He's doing some beautiful work there. So Stephen Grant gave us this. So we're going to be finding out about our editors and their journey to editing. We're going to see their tools of the trade. Yes, indeed. Audience questions will come first from Patreon. We already see at least one in there. They'll be sharing their work stuff you're going to want to go out and buy. And then the final question we ask all creators. So why don't we lead this off? Deanna, take us through Sarah's journey.
So where did you get your start with editorial? Did you want to be an editor, or did you kind of fall into it?
Well, that's sort of a two-pronged question. Yes, I did always wanted to be an editor. All I ever kind of wanted to do is sit around and read. And that was actually a problem for my mom, because when she would try to punish me, I'd be like, oh no, banish to my room where all my books are. How sad. So I did always want to be an editor. I got my start actually at Penguin, which is now Penguin Random House, in the Tarcher division, which was New Age. So it was interesting, because that is definitely not very much my jam, and it remains very much not my jam. And then somebody I know, and this is how I fell into comics, which is what I did fall into. Somebody I know was like, oh yeah, her supervisor at the time was moving to Vertigo. They were going to do a run of graphic novels, and they were like, oh, you would be great for this. So I interviewed at DC at Vertigo with Joan Hilty and John Vinken, and of course Kieran Berger, and I ended up several months later, because the hiring process tends to be slow, several months later, I ended up at Vertigo, and I've sort of been in and out of comics ever since.
Okay. Do you
mostly at this point.
So have you become a comic book reader after you took on the editorial, or were you reading comics and just kind of fell into the editorial of it?
I read comics on and off when I was younger. One of my cousins always had Archie comics, so I would read those. But mostly, and I still remain a reader of novels, of traditional books, which I realize makes me a bad comic book editor. But also, I feel like it doesn't, because it's another form of storytelling. And when you read a comic book script, it helps to have that, to see the linear, include like the panels, but also the linear story.
Sure.
It's funny when you said Archie, I think I wonder how many people's gateway to comics was at the checkout counter at the supermarket with the Archie digests. Like, we'll probably never know.
Probably a lot.
Right? That was the gateway. That was long before, specialty shops. And then throughout the 90s, they were just there. All right. Keep going, Deanna.
So you've worked for both, for larger companies and for smaller. Do you see a massive difference in how you approach the books, or is it pretty much you have a process and that's how you approach when you edit?
I think to be fair, I did play two different roles, because when I was at Vertigo, I was an assistant, so that I wasn't given the same kind of liberty and the same amount of freedom as I am sort of at Ahoy, and also as a freelancer, where I can, where if I find a project that I really love, I can say like, listen, this is something that we should do, this is something that we should pick. Or, as I said, as a freelancer, if somebody approaches me with something, be like, yeah, let's do this.
Okay, so this is more. So now you see, you have a little bit more freedom with what you can do and what you weren't able to do when you were working for DC, basically.
Definitely, and I mean, also with with a place like Ahoy, they really kind of do encourage, because it's small, and because we have kind of our sense of humor, let's say, is kind of unique. We are encouraged to find certain things, which I love, because I'm always looking for something that's going to entertain me. Sure. And one of the reasons I really was not always a comic book reader is because capes and tights were just not. I'm like, okay, that's like, I only a few weeks ago watched the new Superman, and like, it was great. It was definitely great, but I wasn't like, let's go see it. Yay.
Yeah. So more of the quirkier stories, those are more your wheelhouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
You hold on. You have a comment perhaps from one of your writers. I'll read it out loud as doing. Thank you for helping make some of my bad ideas gooder, Sarah, and not letting people know I can't punctuate. So Kwanzaa O says that. I guess you know Kwanzaa O.
I do. I'm his editor.
All right. Well, very grateful for the work that you've done. So, and then somebody noted that is why I love Dark Horse. I could not get into superheroes. Dark Horse all being one word. It's different than the Dark Horse comic publishing company. This is Dark Horse, which is slightly different. We actually make sure that we make fun of anybody's mispunctuation or grammar. So if we pounce on people, it's done with love.
They know what they're getting into when they
know what they're getting into. They knew the script. All right, so let's
behind the scenes.
All right, so let's find out a little bit about Adrian's journey. Deanna, take it away.
All right, so how did you get into editing comics and then opening your own company?
That's a long answer, and I will try not to bore everyone to tears. I fell into editing because I was at the University of Montana for creative writing and literature, and the literary journal that we were running, the editor at the time just sort of like abandoned post, and we wanted it to keep coming out. So I was like, okay, I'll step up and figure out how to edit a literary journal. And that's when I sort of fell in love with editing. It was the first time that I got to work with a bunch of different writers, and I did a bunch of freelance stuff from there. And not just in prose or poetry, but also in radio, which was really fun, and edited film as well, which is a whole different skill set, and really found a love for editing. And at the same time, I was writing, and my brother, Adrian Wassel, and my cousin, Nathan Gooden, and I were working on our own first comic book together, because we were voracious readers of comics as kids and super nerds, and we loved them, and we thought, why not try making them? One, because Nathan was an incredible artist and I was a terrible writer, and so we thought, let's give it a try, and we self-published a few books, and we took them to some comic book conventions, and people really liked them, which we were not expecting, entirely because of Nathan's art. I take no credit. And by the time we released the second volume of one of our early self-published books, The Gifted, we had just met so many incredible creators at conventions who were not having their work published. And it was a weird time in direct market publishing. This was like circa 2014. It's actually as Vertigo was sort of winding down, which broke my heart, because I grew up reading all of the all of my favorite books were Vertigo books. And there wasn't really a publisher that was like, we're going to do genre. It's going to be our focus, and we're going to bring, sort of a very specific style to very specific genres in comics. And so we decided to launch Vault because we had met all this incredible creative talent at these comic book conventions, become friends with them, and had all these great relationships. And they had so many pitches that weren't getting picked up. And Image's catalog was great and really impressive, but very scattershot. And so we decided to do Vault, and it was science fiction and fantasy, and that was it at the beginning. It was just those two genres. Those were the mainstays. And it was an opportunity to bring all of this incredible creative talent that we had met in. And obviously that immediately meant I had no time for writing. And all of my work was editorial and working with all of these incredible and far better creators than I will ever be. And so the rest was history. It grew very, very rapidly. And, we went from just two genres and two books in February of 2017 to millions upon millions of books sold, a consistently top 5 and top 10 publisher in the DM when sales charts were still a little more reliable. And we added horror as a seasonal imprint, and then it became a mainstay. And just continue to build from there. So that's the kind of that's the quickest version of that history that I can do. Left out a lot of heartache, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah. So and actually both of you can probably answer this too, because you mentioned meeting people at the conventions. How do you feel about people approaching you with their stuff? Do you welcome it, or do you think it's overwhelming? Like or if you do welcome it, what would be your advice to giving that advice to people? Like, can you approach somebody at a booth with this kind of stuff? What do you guys think?
I mean, here's the thing. I understand why some people might think it's a good idea, but because you're at a show and there are so many people, for me at least, it does kind of get overwhelming, and you don't want to kind of have to not necessarily keep track of, but you're not necessarily you're going from the show maybe to a dinner, maybe to a thing. So you don't necessarily want to have to have all of these things with you. I will give out my email address, I will give out my contact information, but usually I'm just like, please send it to me, or send me your pitch. You can tell me when you see me, like, you have an amazing idea. I will listen to your amazing idea. That's why an elevator pitch is really, really important. But please don't give me any material.
That's good. And I think that's good advice. I think some people, they come with their big bag and they want to distribute their work, and there's so much going on at a show. It's not always feasible to entertain all of that. No, I agree with that totally.
I love being approached at shows the right way, and also have Sarah's sort of aversion if it's the wrong way. And I think that there are some pretty simple rules and principles to follow. Know who you're talking to. If it's an editor and you're going to speak to an editor at a specific publisher, show interest in their work. What books have they edited in the past? If you have an understanding of the catalog and their interests, and you can talk to that, it'll change the tone of the conversation immediately. Oh, I loved these 3 books you've done over the last few years, and your editorial eye for this really excites me because I want these kind of themes in my work. Total game changer. And also, not having a cold conversation is really helpful. If it's somebody you've interacted with or reached out to, whether that's on LinkedIn or social media or by email, that can also be really helpful, where it's like, hey, it's so and so, and we've chatted in the past, and I'm really excited to talk to you and get to meet you in person. And I love like a book exchange if it's published work. If you're coming up with published work that you've done elsewhere, and you want to show that to me, like, I'll always be like, oh, that sounds so fun. Here's one of our books. Let's just do a quick, like, this is another book I've edited. And that's a way of exchanging material. But if it's an unpublished work, I have to agree with Sarah, where it also gets messy. Like, we can't necessarily do a portfolio review without things being signed. We can't necessarily take unpublished work in case we then publish something later that looks too much like it in concept, etc. So don't come in like sort of cold, walk up to an editor, open a portfolio and say, can you review on the show floor? We probably have a million other things that we have to do. And no matter how stunning your work is, it's not setting yourself up for success. So I would say, the rules are: know who you're talking to, know the catalog of their work, and know that you actually want them to be someone who would potentially edit your work. If you're going to bring something to exchange, make sure it's something published. If it's unpublished work, then follow kind of Sarah's rule and say, like, I would love to share this with you in the future. I will say that I don't enjoy, no matter how good the elevator pitch is, a pitch in person that I'm not ready for, because my brain is just, I'm terrible at giving any kind of notes in like a verbal exchange. I need to sit down and read it. I need to like sink my teeth into it. So all I'm going to do is just sort of nod at you and be like, great. And I basically heard nothing you said. So but that's a me problem. But those would be my rules to how to approach an editor properly and make it worth your time and their time at a convention.
No, I think both of you, that's really good. Sometimes I think creators who are trying to meet people, they see this as their opportunity at a show. And, because how often do you get to see these people in person, have that opportunity to walk up to their booth? But there is so much going on. It might not be the right time, and you don't want to drop that ball when that's, you know what I mean? This might be your opportunity to meet these people, but it might not be the time for you to try to pitch your work. I think that's actually really good advice.
And I want to just do a call back to something that Sarah, you had said. I'm sorry to cut you off, Sarah, but I wanted to call back to something that you had said. Ahoy has an aesthetic, right? Like, they have a publishing philosophy. And I remember Tom Pyre and Stuart Moore both reinforcing, we want great comics, but we want funny comics, and funny's hard to do, and satire's hard to do. And how frequently, Sarah, do people come up with like, we really want to do something with Ahoy, but they really don't know what Ahoy is, and it becomes a very apparent when you start talking with them.
It does happen. And so the thing about Ahoy is just about all of us used to work at Vertigo. So so we have a particular we are particular, and we are peculiar. So we are looking not necessarily for what Vertigo's output is. We are looking for things that are sort of quirky and weird and different and unique, with a sense of humor. And it does not, or with like some sort of really interesting twist. And that's not to say it has to be like hilarious, like Mark Russell and Bryce Ingman's My Bad, which I think I am still angry that Tom got to edit because it's hilarious. I'm still angry because some of those jokes were amazing. So it doesn't have to be uproarious. It just has to be, or no, it doesn't have to be. We would just prefer it to be something really interesting and unique. And I'm sure Adrian must feel the same way when he's looking at stuff, because I also sort of curate the Ahoy short stories, and I can always see where sort of the publishing genres are going, because sometimes it's all superheroes, and then it's all zombies, and then it's all alien, and it's like, so you mentioned Ari Rubin earlier, and he sent me a really unique short story, and that's how our relationship developed. I was like, this is fantastic. And so he became sort of part of the Ahoy family. And the thing with Ahoy is that once you're in, you are just in for life, apparently.
So real quick, we had a couple of comments on approaching editors. They wanted to know, so don't wait in the dark car park after the convention.
No.
No.
Also,
No,
I
don't worry.
will say one thing to remember about conventions is, you know, for me, possibly for Adrian, for any editor, you're seeing people who you work with and or you know who you have connections with from the past who you haven't seen in ages. So chances are a lot of the editors are there for like catch-ups and to see people who they haven't seen. So coming and kind of interrupting in a conversation can get a little awkward. And I will tell you, not at a convention, but one of the best interactions I've ever had, and this is why I will hire her until the day I retire. I was at a signing for mine. I had ordered a copy of the Planned Parenthood anthology, and I think Deanna knows this story. And there was a signing at, I want to say the Strand, but that doesn't seem right. And no, was it anyways, it was a long time ago, so I don't remember. And I hadn't met Leanna Kangas, and Leanna came up to me and said, you know, I've heard about you, but I have a cold, so I don't want to shake your hand. And that stuck with me. And as soon as I could hire Leanna, which was for Devil's Die, I was like, I would like Leanna to be on this book.
Mm-hmm.
There's talent there, and I would like to help watch it grow. And so something like that will stay with you. I mean, forever. Like one sort of small thing that you don't really think of is one of those things that's just gonna send an editor like flying in your direction every single time.
Sure. I think we've all worked with Leanna at some point. I didn't, and Adrian, she drew for Vault a few times, right?
Yeah, several times. She's worked on several projects. Her first full-length publication was at Vault with She Said Destroy, and I have a similar story as Sarah's. To Leanna is especially good at networking, and it's a very particular skill. But it was her and Joe Corayo that brought us She Said Destroy, and that was after doing some anthology work, and they pitched it as a mini series. But again, the approach was very, very considerate, and they had like set up space and the professional like booth at some convention. I don't remember where it was. Same problem Sarah's having. It was a minute ago. It was at one of the conventions. They kind of all blur together, and it was like in the pro room, and we sat down at a table, and it wasn't on the floor. And I knew Joe because Joe had done some anthology work, and we had interacted multiple times before, and they pitched me there, and I remember having a similar reaction, which was like, oh, on top of being a very quality pitch in a book I'm excited about, these two are professional communicators and considerate of my time, which again just sticks with you as an editor.
So that first impression for sure goes a long way. So when you are going to approach somebody, whether it's at a show or a signing or even just anywhere, if you run into them, that first impression does make a difference.
Yes, and both Joe and Leanna, it really does. And both Joe and Leanna came up and were like, I love these books from Vault. Like I love Heathen for this reason, and I love Fissure for this reason. And like we're able to talk about the catalog, and then pitched a fantasy book with, that was exactly the kind of book we were looking for. And, to Sarah's point earlier, and that's the question about like what's sort of right for a catalog. I've received so many pitches that don't fit into our genre mandate over the years. And so when you have someone who's considerate and takes the time to sit down and approach it this way, and then pitches you exactly the sort of project you're looking for, it certainly makes saying yes a lot easier.
Do you feel like a lot of creators, potential creators, just blast every company, and that's a huge turnoff, right? Like they just want to get published, and they send it to everybody, whether it fits into the catalog or not. Like, as editors, you can probably spot that a mile away, that this was probably pitched everywhere.
It definitely happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
That and make sure you're spelling the person you're sending things to, make sure you're spelling their name correctly. Like, I will absolutely dismiss you sight unseen. Like, if you've misspelled, it's not that hard. Yeah, I mean, it's literally like it's just one of those things, like just a little tiny bit of research will tell you.
Sure. It's effort, right? It's a little bit, you could see that you've planned this and you've plotted it and you're making that effort. It goes, a long way. My name is harder to spell than yours. And I still have that. I still get that. Oh, come on. Spell my name right.
That one doesn't bother me because I have like family members that still misspell my name sometimes. But
Me too, actually.
that's personal preference. Like, I still get ENNE from people who've known me for 20 years, and I'm like, it's AN. It's AN.
It's different. Yeah. And hold on, this one. Glenn said, "Don't forget the H." Got it.
Thank you. Exactly, Glenn. Exactly. And I would spell your name with one N. So there you go.
Yeah, it's do your research is basically the tip. It's just make sure you know what you're doing. Yeah.
What's amazing is how consistent both of your nods and smiles and guffaws are to Deanna's questions. Like, it seems like the consistency of the approach, the preparation, the pitch, right? It just seems like if our audience that's listening, who might want to break in as writers or artists or any of the myriad of jobs in comics, including editing, do a little bit of homework before you walk up to somebody. It seems like that's a consistent.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. It's because we're all here, I think, to put out amazing work, and what's right for Ahoy might not necessarily be right for Vault, and vice versa. And we're not saying no because we're being mean or because your work isn't good. Quite often I've had to say no to work that I'm like, this is phenomenal, this is not for Ahoy. And it does happen. But ultimately what it comes down to, especially in the initial pitch, is know your audience. I think that is super important, and that's really the best way to kind of get any editor to really notice you.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say it's a pretty clear indicator of you can extend then that they understand the next audience they're writing to, which would be the readers. Yeah. If you're sort of so myopic and so kind of blinders on that you haven't put craft into how you're going to approach the editor, it does suggest that you're probably also not going to be doing that for the readers. And we could argue forever and ever about whether art is for you or for the reader in this case. But I think, like, as an editor, it is sort of our job to be at that intersection and to think and care about the reader's experience. So for us, very specifically as an editor, it means a lot if a creative team is already showing that they are thinking about the reader's experience because you're the first reader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you tend to, because from the journalist side, when we get stuff from the beat, people will pitch for coverage. It's different. They have some, something published or whatever it is. But I've said this in a past show as well. When you drop that email to me to try to get coverage at the beat, and you have your Kickstarter, or you have whatever it is, if you come at me with something that seems really not ready, or it's the pitch is 20 pages long that you want me to cover, I'll be honest, I'm not going to read all of that. So, like, if it's concise, and it could be a page, but like if it's concise, if it seems like this is something that is complete and it's ready, we're more likely to look at it as something we can cover for small press or for crowdfunding roundups or whatever it is. How do you guys feel about the types of pitches that you get? What are you more likely to look at versus what is going to turn you off?
Oh, I have a very specific answer for that, and I think it's informed largely by the fact that we've had closed submissions for quite a while at Vault and have only opened them for sort of specific targets. And so that puts me in a position of like kind of immense privilege as an editor. But the answer for me is that and this might upset folks, but I am very rarely interested in the passion project. That is the thing that someone has been wrestling with forever and ever and ever. And you know, sort of desperately just need to get made, and has like a kind of unruly quality, whether it's sort of in your space, Deanna, the like 20-page version. I actually much more enjoy, and it's what Vault sort of prides itself on, getting to know a creator and what they like to do sort of thematically with their work, and then building from a more kernel of an idea, something fresher and newer that they're excited about, that they're nervous about, and feels very like green and fledgling. I really love when creators pitch something that fits into a sort of new cutting edge subgenre within the genre umbrellas that we work in. Like, rewind a few years ago, and people who are coming forward and being like, you know, I want to do like a biopunk book. I was like, oh yes, like let's have this conversation. And they're like, I don't know exactly what I want it to be, but I want it to have these themes. And I like to have a very dialogic kind of approach as an editor, where I get to know the creators, and they send kernels of ideas and we talk over them, because it allows me to paint a very clear target for them of what we're looking for in the Vault catalog. Whereas like having that deep passion project, that thing that you love, that's yours, that's so ultra specific, like trying to make that work in a catalog I'm putting together for a year or 2 years or 3 years is like throwing a dart into a black hole and hoping there's a target. It's so much harder, and there are other publishers elsewhere for whom that's perfect. And like, you know, one of the premier independent publishers, like an Image, is exactly probably where that project should go, right? Like that's where that project is meant to go. So sort of bringing it to a Vault is almost kind of antithetical to our whole editorial approach. And so for me, the kind of pitches I love are pitches that have an enormous amount of ambition, feel very new, and are almost sort of nerve-wracking to the creator because they're so new. I don't know if I'm ready to pitch this yet, but I have this thing that is burning a hole in my pocket. Like I cannot go to sleep without thinking about it. It's a splinter in my brain, and then all I want to do is like help them pick it out and figure out what that thing is. That's what excites me the most.
That is awesome. And hold on, just a real quick comment. Somebody threw in their own joke, which was Philip said you closed the vault.
It is all in the word.
It is all in the wording. Philip's an excellent artist, and it looked like Sarah was about to start to talk. So I want to. It takes me a minute to work the things. So
Fair enough.
Sarah, you're on.
I mean, I agree with you for sure about the passion projects, because those are also the ones that are so much harder to edit, because not criticism, but nobody wants somebody to say like, this is great, but what if we did XYZ with this kid? Like, nobody wants to kill their darlings, basically. And that makes a passion project really difficult. I do very often, one thing that Ahoy does not do, and definitely I get a lot of pitches like this, I'm not sure about Vault, but we get a lot of, this is my book, and it's finished, and it's written, it's drawn, it's edited, and it's lettered, which is great. Like, love this for you, but we're not a packager. So that I'm already like, amazing idea, love it, can't really read it because it's not been published yet. I wish you all the best luck, but we cannot. That said, come to me with an idea. Come to me with, if you have a plot outline. So I will say I worked on Jordan Clark and Attica and Ilion. Just tomorrow's the last issue. Just wrapped up Ancestral Recall, and I would say that would border on a passion project for Jordan. It's an amazing book. It's about a man whose wife gets kidnapped and taken into the future, and he has to channel figures from Black historical figures to sort of figure out how to get her out. And to me, that's the idea of a passion project that I would want. Because Jordan is a newer writer, he's done stuff for DC, and he was part of the DC New Talent Program. But then I got him. And he's amazing, and he was willing to take notes and, to sort of see, different directions we could take things in. And so that's if you're willing to work with an editor on your passion project and see where they're not trying to change it and they're not trying to make it their own. What I always tell my teams is my suggestions are just that. My notes are just that. They're suggestions. I'm here to help you make your book the best book possible. And so that's hard with a passion project. The other side of that is I will get a pitch from like Eric Palicki, and he's like, what do you think of this? I'm like, let's just do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. Like, she does what? Okay, yeah, no, let's do that.
So real quick, somebody in the audience backed it up. Matthew Giff says, well, if it's a passion project, people tend to be closed off to suggestions, improvements, and criticism. And it sounds like this is what we're talking about. Now, we're going to have to move to the next section. Deanna, any final questions before we move on to the next section, which is the tools of the trade of our editors, or any final thoughts before we move on to the next section?
I mean, I have tons of questions. I know
we do. We do this all night, but it's closer to 2 a.m. now for Sarah, and almost dinner time for Adrian. So, all right. So, tools of the trade. Let's look at the tools of the trade. This must be yours, Adrian. You want to talk us through what we're looking at and what software you're using? I was trying to guess. I was like, what is this?
Oh, this is Airtable. So Airtable is a relational database. Okay, I should preface this by saying I was basically a Luddite until I founded a business. I literally I could barely, set up a router. But Airtable is a relational database with a sort of front end that looks very similar to like an Excel. It's sort of a spreadsheet on the front end. And we have several bases. We use one base that we've built called the library database, which is where we store all of our metadata, because a publisher has to share the metadata with their various distributors. And then we have a second database that we've built called the production database, where we use that to more interact with our creators, and we build all of our project deadlines for the series and various releases, including any variant covers, etc. And so you can see there are a million tabs and different hidden fields. And this is a tool that we use at Vault that I love, because once the information is entered, it's a relational database. You can build a view to make it work and do whatever you want it to do if you know how to command formulas. And I only know a little math, but fortunately my brother is very good at math. And so he's got a PhD. I do not. He's definitely the smarter of the two of us. And so we use this tool, and what I like it for is that once I've entered all of this information, I can build an entire project's life and timeline from beginning through publication, every variant cover, any variant SKU, any exclusive at Barnes and Noble, or etc. And then I can share that as a calendar view and also as a deadline view with our creators. And it's a really easy touchstone. It's always there, it's live, and we can go to it anytime we want to talk through deadlines, what's coming up. If they know something's happening in their life, I can adjust on the fly. So what you're seeing here is just a very, very quick screenshot of a deadline view of the of Lilith, one of our biggest hits of the last year. And so you can see the script deadlines all delivered, because Corinne's a rock star, all the covers delivered, the interior art, all their various deadlines, all marked delivered. A bad screenshot, that column that says delivered would be red all the way down because things hadn't come in on time. And so this is one of the tools we use, and I use that, and then I love to use Slack. It's just a communication tool, and that's a really easy place for us to chat, and it's just a live link, calendar view and a deadline view, whatever our creators want, and it means the day that they sign up for a project and we get a contract signed, they get the invitation from me and they join Slack for the first time. They get access to the entire Vault library. They can download any book of ours that they want, and that's forever into the future. And they have this link waiting for them with all of their deadlines for their whole project, from first script deadline to every publication date waiting. And so that's Airtable.
Not bad for a guy that says he was not very technical.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. I certainly have. If you had told 25-year-old me that I would have been building relational databases in my 30s, I would have said no. And here we are. So
here you are. Now let's take a look.
Yours is so fancy, Adrian. I can't, like, I'm not embarrassed, but like, oh my gosh. Yeah, so this is mine. And the green means it's in, the red means it is not in. And
hey, that's the same, Sarah. That's the same.
Like, I have tabs for each issue, but yeah.
Well, you've redacted some information here, but it works, right, Sarah?
Yeah. Well, the only thing I've really redacted is the title, because I don't think it's been announced yet. This is for an independent project that I'm working on for somebody. But yeah, this is and today I was able to fill in 2 more little green boxes, which made me so happy. Yeah, it's always.
But you need stuff like this, though, especially when you're juggling multiple books. If you don't have something that you can keep track and have color, I mean, I need color codes for. I mean, even for stuff that I manage on the beat, I have spreadsheets with various color codes because of all the different ends. There's no way for you to keep up with it. Do you feel like sometimes creators forget that you're juggling like 15 books, or do you ever feel like you forget that you're not only on their book, that you have all these other projects that you have to keep track of? It's okay, you can be honest with us.
And then from the audience, they had a little bit of commentary. Google Docs for the win.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. I feel
that red looks like the source of stress.
That
Yeah,
red
I was a little.
in the middle of the night.
My
to
blood
get
pressure
here.
did go up when I saw some of that red. I'm like, oh, Sarah, and it's so late at night right now. So I'm sorry, you were about to say something, Adrian?
Oh, I think I've forgotten.
Which about juggling, but they forget that you juggle.
Oh, I was gonna say yes. Early on, I think that was the case because Vault's output grew so rapidly. Everyone just kind of assumed that there was like this support network of other editors behind me, and it was just me for years doing our entire catalog, every script, every page, every layout, every pencil. And now, having worked with a bunch of people multiple times, they know, and I'll say the opposite. Like they've become maybe too forgiving, and I'm like, no, give me a hard elbow in the ribs. I need to get you something. I'm aware. And so yeah, at the beginning though, definitely, I was like, there are no associate or assistant editors here, guys. It's just me.
Wow.
All right, so we have promised our audience that we've left time for the questions that they have put into our Patreon. Now we opened up a Patreon to build community. So first question, and I don't really have a good way to put it up on the screen, and I cannot see you, but Matthew Gilfin says, how much has the technological advances created any unforeseen and unexpected problems with workflow?
How many times does the digital output break down? It's the new "my dog ate my script." So I mean, I understand, like, for artists sometimes like these things absolutely happen. Your computer breaks your scanner. Ooh, those scanners are so tricky. And these things do happen. Yeah. Yep, they sure do.
For me, if we could just scrape all these useless AI tools out of Adobe software and various others, I would be thrilled because I don't need them, and they just break things constantly. That's a can of worms we don't need to open. But like for me, recently, that's the big gripe is like, stop popping up a million things telling me what AI can do. I know what I need to do with Adobe right now. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Let me do it. So yeah, that's my gripe right now.
Yeah.
Well,
Totally.
and
also,
Adobe, I feel like is a little greedy with my RAM. Like it just everything starts. Oh, helper. I don't need this much help, right?
Exactly.
Like I don't need you to be ready to launch Acrobat at any moment. Like
Yeah.
when I need Acrobat, I'll double click.
Do you want me to compile all of these files? I'm already doing it. No, stop. I don't need you to do that.
I don't need you to be that helpful. Stop.
Except when you do need it to, it just doesn't do it. And you're like, really? How?
Yep.
How have you managed?
Right, yeah. Especially Acrobat. You're like, I used to be right here. Why can't it's always Acrobat.
It is always
Acrobat. A little side note, I got tired of buying and paying for Adobe. I canceled. They said I needed to give them 2 weeks notice like a landlord. And I said, no, I don't. It's software. So I canceled Adobe and I started using Affinity Designer, which is free through Canva. And I made that transition like so. If you know Photoshop, you already know Affinity and it's free. So
alas, I am a Photoshop rube. I know InDesign. But
same thing. It actually has InDesign built right in.
Here's
the most
that's
amazing
great.
thing about I'm going to shill for it because it's free. It has InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop. You open one app. It's not a memory hog, and you can toggle between their version of InDesign, Illustrator, or Photoshop all in one app for free. Sarah, I saw you nodding. Have you tried it?
No, I was just thinking how wonderful that sounds, but unfortunately for my Princeton review stuff, I do still need Acrobat. So
yeah, I'm right there with you, buddy. But if I had to tell our designers and production manager that they were switching out of Adobe, they might set fire and flee because it's the villain they know, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, the Peanut Gallery has a lot to say. So I second that. Adobe's creating AI to do what we bought Adobe to create.
Exactly.
And then Philip says, please upgrade your subscription to use this function.
Yes. Yeah. So frustrating.
Kwanzaa O says Affinity rocks.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeff Yoon says Affinity is great. Redheaded Ed says Affinity has publisher to replace InDesign.
Wow.
If I can only find an AE replacement, I am still dreaming. Okay. How hard is it to learn? I'm going to say you're asking about Affinity, but I would just say in general, everything's hard to learn. But you just if you need to learn it, you got to learn it. It's like anything else. How do I open this file? And here's the key: Affinity opens most Adobe files. So that was a little shout out. By the way, you guys, I don't know if you see the comments as guests, but they're very active tonight. I don't show a lot of them. Tons of tutorials on Affinity on YouTube. You can more or less figure out basic things out. Though my read was terrible. It's okay to make fun of me because I make fun of them.
Y'all are helping each other, though. I think that's really great.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and honestly,
Well, I actually learned about Affinity by watching our comments when I was complaining about the subscription cost of Photoshop, and the chat exploded. Like they were like, "You got to use Affinity." I'm like, "Come on, I've been using Adobe since 2.0." You know, when they bought.
I'm going to send this to our team, and we'll see if we can get some converts.
Yeah, so I was
gonna like it.
All right, so we have another audience question, if you don't mind. So the first question came from Andrew Campbell. He is dialing in from down under. He's actually in Australia. He says, "What is the difference between a creator you'll take a chance on once and one that you actively want to build with?"
Sarah, you want to go first?
A lot of it, I think, depends on the working relationship, because there are definitely people who I will work with time and time and time again. I mentioned Eric before. And I will work with him anytime he comes knocking on my email inbox. Cloud is another one. Kwanzaa, who is, providing the running commentary, is definitely another one that I will work with anytime. Because I have really good working relationships with all of them. They understand the role of the editor. They understand that I'm not here to destroy their work. And we work really well together. And there are a couple other people who I'm just like, yep, absolutely. Let me dive on this because I love working with you. You're an amazing person. And then there are some people who I've worked with who I'm like, this was a super fun experience. I don't know that we necessarily have the right working relationship. Luckily, I have been very lucky in that most of the people who I've worked with, I would happily work with again. Jordan, I would gladly work with again. I would say like 90% of the people who I've worked with have become friends. I've met them in person, and we have good professional relationships. And we even, some of us, we have very good personal relationships. Like Eric, whenever we're in the same city, I will make it a point to go and see him and hang out with him, even if it's for like a quick drink. So to me, same thing with Kwanzaa. And, so for me, it really comes down to how we've worked together, and how God, I hate myself for saying this. It's about vibes, man. It's about vibes.
Yeah.
I think the first bar to clear with me is professionalism, and that's probably the case with most editors. Are you mostly timely? Are you decent in your communication? Clearing that bar of professionalism is super, super helpful. And then beyond that, on the more creative side, I think, for lack of a better way to say it, it's getting really comfy with hearing me say no. And not finding that discouraging, but instead kind of finding it like a challenge to turn that no into a yes. Like I think about like Mike Morisi or Corinne Howe, or like Tim Seeley, or some of these creators that we've worked with numerous times on many series. And like Barbaric is a great example. Barbaric is one of our best-selling books. It's been running for 5 years. It's headed into its 6th arc. It continues to be one of the best-selling sword and sorcery comics ever, sword and sandal comics. And when Mike originally pitched that, we were coming off of Wasted Space, and he and I had a great working relationship. I told him we needed to do something more together, and I turned down probably 20 plus pitches from him coming off of that. And he didn't care, in the sense that it didn't discourage him, because he knew that what I was saying was not, I don't want to work with you again. It's, this isn't the right thing. And he pitched 2 different books, and we kind of scooped the heart and the brain out of these 2 different books and Frankensteined them together into Barbaric. And the reason he was willing to do that with me was because we'd run 20 plus issues of Wasted Space with him and Hayden Sherman. Shout out to one of the most incredible artists of all time. Just won the Eisner for Absolute Wonder Woman. But Wasted Space, Mike had just run 20 plus issues with me on Wasted Space, and he was willing to go through that process. And I knew I had a very clear target for what I knew the market wanted with at that moment, which was basically a send up of Sword and Sandal. And Mike was willing to take pieces from other things and amalgamate a new book that was Barbaric. And so, yeah, just like hearing no's as almost an encouragement to be like, screw you, I'm gonna make it so good you can't say no. And that's kind of what I look for in those long-term creative relationships, is the folks that know I'm not saying no because I don't believe their work is excellent. It's because I have a catalog and I'm trying to be that evil thinker that they don't have to be, who wants their book to sell. because I want their book to make money for them, hopefully.
No, it's a great point, and it's a great point on not giving up, and of course, Sarah, on relationships, likability goes a long way. There's another question here. Got a couple more that are coming in, so maybe we'll take them a little faster. Michael Giff asks, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see from new writers?
That's a good one.
Adrian, do you want to start?
Put your panel count for the page at the top of each page, please. It'll be very helpful for your artists when they're doing layouts.
And make sure
it's a simple one.
And make sure it's reasonable. I've definitely worked with people who are like 9 pages, but also all the dialogue. And the artist is just like, okay, but
where am I drawing? Yeah, when
I definitely, yeah, but that's, especially as a new writer, you don't necessarily know. And again, that's where like an editor comes in, and where you have to be able to say, like, you have to be able to accept an editor's notes and say, like, this is great, but you have to use fewer words. And it kind of goes back to Adrian, where it's like, if you can accept stuff like that, a no, or because I feel like the no's also do come through the editing process. If you can accept stuff like that, again, I'm more than happy to work with you if you're willing to kind of trust me and my guidance, and that I'm not trying to, be mean or screw you over or anything like that. Like, I'm really just trying to help you.
All right. That sounds good. Let me jump in. We got the next one. Philip Space asks, would something like an 8 to 12 page short story work for a pitch, or does that put editors in a weird legal area? Now, I'm not sure if Philip is asking if it's a completed 8 to 12 page short story, or if he's suggesting a pitch as a short story. But I'm going to read it again and allow you guys to answer it any way you want. Would something like an 8 to 12 page short story work for a pitch, or does that put editors in a weird legal area?
I'm going to guess by the sound of that it means it's a short story is written that is not published and maybe wants to turn into a comic.
Yeah, I'm getting the same read on that. So
in which case, I would say that would be a little bit tricky. I would definitely try to boil that 12-page short story down into a pitch of like a 1 or 2 page pager that suggests why you think it would translate really well to comics. And every editor is going to ask for a few different things, but like theme, why it matters to you, why it matters to the audience. Here are the main characters, and here's a quick plot breakdown. Not a bad place to start. Other editors might ask for more things than that, but if you can take your 12-page short story and you can give us that, no one's going to be mad at receiving that version.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And to paraphrase Deanna, I'm not reading all that. Also, I mean, and that's the other thing, like, it's a lot of work to capture somebody's interest for a 8 to 12 page short story. Like, sometimes it's hard to capture my interest with a 2 or 3 page short story. So it's the shorter the better, because the salient points will absolutely stick out. And also because comics are usually 20, maybe 25 pages tops for an issue, you have to be able to condense the work has to be able to be condensed. And if you can't do that already with a pitch, that's already, we've already got not a problem, but like we've already got like sort of a rough starting point for me.
I have a handy
We
little.
have a funny. Andrew Campbell says I boiled a pitch down to 3 words. Just need to write the script.
Perfect.
Hey,
Yeah, and Philip gave him a thumbs up. So
Heathen got pitched to me in 2 words. It was lesbian Vikings, and I was like,
oh,
okay,
all right. So yeah,
so, you know,
sounds like Andrew's pitch was too long already. Then you know.
Exactly.
All right. So time for one more question. And this is in the chat. They wanted to know where can they send their portfolios, and this came from an artist. So portfolio probably being artist domain. Adrian, do you want to go first where the artist should be sending portfolio work?
Typically I don't do a portfolio review until I've, like seen the artist's work before. So the best thing for me is, to interact typically like over social media, but for this crowd, email as well. And I don't typically give out my email just sort of willy-nilly, but it is editor@vaultcomics.com. So you can reach me there. Please don't take terrifying advantage of that.
Hey, listen, people come on the show to get the inside scoop. You just gave it to them. Thank you for sharing that. Sarah, that doesn't put any
Sarah, no
on
pressure
you
No.
to give them your home address or anything. But,
Look, you know what? You want to come out to Lisbon? Be my guest. That shows some real dedication. I think the most ideal thing is through social media. Send me a link to your portfolio. Send me a link to, if you have Behance or ArtStation, send me a link to your Instagram. That to me makes a lot more sense because then I can sort of look at it at will. And send it through social media. Because I will not give out my email address because I'm not a sucker.
What I will say, just real quick to Sarah's point, though, about like having your work accessible is even more important than sending me a portfolio. Is make sure that you have your work accessible for an editor to find. I'm sure everyone's heard it a million times, but somehow it still doesn't sink in. Like if your Instagram is a lot of also personal stuff, then maybe consider setting up another Instagram that's just your artwork, that is really about networking for editors, or set up just a link that's your own personal site, that's your portfolio, that's just your most current work and the stuff you want to show off. We end up working with far more artists that I scout than artists who send me their portfolio.
Interesting. All right.
And for the love of everything, please have some contact information if you want to get hired. Because there have been times where I'm like, oh my God, this art is amazing and it's absolutely perfect. And this is exactly what we're looking for. How do I get in touch with this person?
I will throw in a very quick anecdote of in the years past when Twitter existed. I watched an artist tweet about not being able to get work after a book collapsed on them while I was actively scouring the internet for their contact information in the weeks prior to this, because I wanted to hire them for a book. And I was like ready to actually beat my head against the desk. And I just DM'd them and I was like, I would love to hire you. You don't have any info anywhere. So
we can't find you.
Heart. Exactly.
Oh
Adrian, I just want you to know you found me. I'm here.
Yeah.
You can email me anytime.
Okay, great.
All right, here we go. So we're getting toward the end. So here we go. We're going to show what the workspaces are. I see, Adrian, you're in the actual cage. I don't know if you're caged in or caged out.
I'm caged in, and it's so my puppy can come to the office and run around.
So this is your workstation here. It looks like there is that looks like a timeout chair of some kind.
That's where my dog likes to sit. It's just a ratty old chair where my dog likes to sit and look out.
It seems like most of the workspace is for your dog, and you're kind of
most of my life is for my dog. So
most of your life is for your dog. So what I don't see this said animal is animal.
Yeah, I'm a little upset about this.
No, I'm sorry. He's not. He didn't come to the office with me today because he would have had much more to say on this show than I would have.
They go into the zoo and you're like, "Is the bear there?" They're like, "The bear's there. He just doesn't."
You just haven't seen him yet. It's your fault.
If you just wait till when? November, and then then over here, you have this ominous looking mask and a couple of slabbed books. What are we looking at here?
Those are just some prizes. That's a 9.8 Heathen from a super rare cover. That was our first book we published, and it kind of set the stage for Vault. And then Moon Knight was one of my first superhero loves as a child, because I bought all my comics secondhand, and so there were actual complete runs of Moon Knight because people didn't want them, so I read them. And then The Witch King, because I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd, like so many others.
By the way, those Moon Knights still hold up, my friend.
They
are
great. I love them.
Went back and reread. I'm gonna point something out, and Deanna can back me on this. I think this book is on more bookshelves of creators than any that I've seen in a long time. But it seems like everybody.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tremendous piece of work by Barry Windsor Smith. I just call him Barry, or BWS. But
you're in the rarefied field.
Yeah, I'm in the rarefied field where I just call him BWS.
I'm looking at those dancers. What is that? Go back.
Those are from Yoshi Yoshitani. That was for their fairy book that they kickstarted that I helped back, and they did these limited run of prints. And because it's me, I just added all of them. So I actually had like 20 more to the cart because I love Yoshi's work.
Oh, I love those. Those are awesome.
Yeah, those are really nice. Yeah. And now we have some stuff here on this shelf. It looks like a. Did you set this up specifically for us, Adrian? Or is this how it really is?
No, that you can see some Vertigo down there.
Yeah, I see Enigma there. That's a Milligan classic.
Morrison. Yeah, Enigma is one of my favorite books. It's one of the things that got me into comics, as is Invisibles by Morrison. Yeah, I was obsessed with everything that came out of Vertigo because, again, I bought my comics secondhand, and where I bought them as a kid, some guy had just like dumped his whole collection, and there were all these Vertigo back issues, and I read parts, which is very confusing, of Invisibles and Enigma without actually getting to read the whole run, and then later collected them. And then that's some original art from Hayden Sherman, including original page from Wasted Space. And then obviously everybody recognizes Saga and Lion Cat. And there's some other
I'm looking
gems
down
in there.
here at the cover to Girl. I think that is one of the all-time great covers series. Girl, one of a wonderful, underrated series. Looks like you've got some beer to drink here in your free time.
Yeah, that's the barbaric beer that we did, which was super cool. We partnered with a brewery and did a limited run of barbaric beers, and this is just a little snippet of some of the manga that I've been reading as of late. Obviously, I'm a horror fanatic with all the Junji Ito.
I have to tell you, the Junji Ito I got into, and you're the only other person that I've ever met that knows what that is, so I feel kinship with you. I want to do an episode just on Junji Ito's work. It's incredible.
Invite me. We can talk all day. I
read each one. I put it down and I go, what did I read? And then it's just, each book is amazing, and you just cannot believe how that one creator pulls it off every time. Looks like we share a lot of the same manga interests.
Hey, that's great. And then those are I could talk manga all day, any day. Those are a bunch of translations of our books, which is why autumnal looks like it's spelled wrong. Yeah, so that's cool. I think we've published something like 26 different languages now.
Oh wow,
which is wild. So yeah, I think that's.
And then it looks like there's a bone theme going on here, because you had the bone figures here, right? There you had the bone figures. Was that the wizard bone figure?
I don't remember which bone figure that was.
Remember
'cause
when
it's,
we did the bone figure? Deanna, were you
I
working
do.
there? When
I
did the
wasn't
bone-
there for that, but I remember that. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
seeing that. Yeah.
We had them all over the office.
Yep.
Oh yeah, bone is basically one of the greatest accomplishments in all modern literature, and I would fight anyone to the death and win over that. Jeff Smith is just incredible, and I adore that book so deeply. And if you like weird Jungian collective unconscious stuff somehow crammed into a cartoon, read Bone if you haven't already. It's brilliant.
Holds up from beginning to end, and it looks like a lot of people, you have Raina on your shelves.
Yep.
It's amazing how the industry never talks about Raina Tellemere. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, but she probably outsells all of us by 10.
Oh yeah, I mean,
literally just
Definitely.
right. Smile
Casey-
alone probably just outsells everything. I see you nodding there, Sarah. Like that does not get nearly the acknowledgement that she deserves in our industry as being like a trailblazer for readers to onboard.
100%.
So, all right. So let's get back to it because we're running out of time here, and we are now in Portugal. We're in Lisbon right now, and this is your workstation. Tell us about the workstation, Sarah. The setup.
Oh, this is actually relatively tidy for me. It's pretty basic. It is my laptop, my old TC nameplate, and a ton of pens. Although I do have a new edition that came to me yesterday. My friend was in Namibia and she brought me back a little elephant.
Where's that elephant? I don't
Love
see the
it.
elephant.
Holding it.
Oh, it's in Sarah's hand right now.
Oh, it's in your hand.
It came to me last
What I thought was
night.
entertaining is you have a Metro card here, Sarah.
Yeah, no, I have a Metro card because, you may say that it's not usable, but I say you're incorrect. And yeah, and what was I going to say? I lost track of my thoughts.
Is this
Yeah.
your DC? Is this your DC?
Yeah, I sold that when I left. I mean, who else was going to use it?
Yeah, who's going to use it? They were-
And we've got David Bowie, Aladdin Sane in the corner, covering pictures of my mom and me when I was a little baby.
Aw.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
very cute. Okay, and then we have your shelf, which I think you just took one shelf. It looks like there's more books below, but I sense a theme here.
So here's the thing. When you move across continents, it's really hard to take all of your books and your belongings with you. And because shipping costs are borderline obscene, so basically you as the shipper have to pay, and then I as the receiver have to pay. And there's just no way to win in this life sometimes. So I don't really get a lot of my books sent to me. When I go to the US, I'll have I'll pick some stuff up. But I collect from my various travels, I collect copies of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I think I'm up to 9 languages now. So that is my shelf of that. I mean, there are other shelves of things, but I felt like that one was the most interesting.
Now that you've explained it, I think that is one of the coolest shelves I've ever seen in my life. Just the dedication to Adams and the translations is pretty awesome.
I mean,
What
I've read
language
it.
is the?
Which one?
Oh, I was going to ask what language is the furthest left on screen.
Furthest left.
The lookers
big,
left.
Sorry, I'm
The big one.
Italian.
Yeah.
That's Italian.
Ooh.
Okay.
So
I just-
Italian.
it's such a crazy fun spine.
Yeah, that one's really fun. Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Hebrew, Czech. No, not Czech. Hebrew. Yeah, no, Czech, because that was when I was in Prague. Another Spanish one. Dutch. French is in there somewhere. Yeah. I try to make, I make it a point to go to bookstores and grocery stores whenever I travel, because I love that. Like, those are two things that I love. So I go to bookstores, I go to grocery stores, and if I'm in a bookstore, I try to find a copy of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
And now people know the way to your heart.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's
If you're gonna
back to Ari, and that's how he found me. Like his
That's
story.
it. That's the secret. Find the 10th language, and you will get Sarah's attention. All right. Where are we here? We're almost done. Final question, and this is how we do this. We do the final question like this. I will pull you up, and I'm going to pull one of you out. And I'm going to start with Adrian, and I'm going to go like this. And Adrian, I'm going to ask you to repeat the question. The question is, what is one piece of advice you wish you had received earlier in your career? So you say, what's one piece of advice I wish I had received earlier in my career?
Perfect. What's one piece of advice I wish I had received earlier in my career? I think it's probably prepare for failures, but plan for successes. Failures are actually easy in a lot of respects if you just keep with it and have tenacity. But successes are really difficult because you're going to be surprised at the amount of work a success generates. So yeah, be ready for failures, be prepared for them, understand that they're part of the natural course of growing in any career, but plan for what's actually going to happen and change in your life when success comes and how that will affect the work that you're doing. Because if you're caught with a success and no plan, you can miss your moment.
Very good. Thank you so much. All right, Sarah, we're going to put you on the hot seat. Give me 1 second to switch the thing. This is very technical. I have to move boxes around. Give me a second. I'm moving the box. All right, Sarah, same thing. You're going to repeat the question and then give us your answer.
One piece of advice. Honestly, going back to the Douglas Adams theme, I would say don't panic. Like things are going to happen throughout your life, throughout your career, throughout everything. And yeah, there's definitely going to be a moment of panic, and take that moment of panic and then figure out what the next steps are. You know, it comes back to, you know, if you send your work to an editor and they say no, you know, don't panic. That's not a no from everybody. That's a no from one person. Or think about revising it. Think about, you know, what could I change? What am I willing to change? But don't panic. Take everything sort of as it comes. And a piece of advice that my mom tends to give is no is sort of just a starting point. And I mean that in a career sense, as opposed to any other sense, when no is absolutely the stopping point. Don't get that wrong. But yeah, like don't panic. And, you know, no can be a starting point when it comes to your career. You know, when I was starting out trying to get a job as any kind of editor, you know, as an assistant, as an editorial assistant, whatever, so many no's, and now here I am. Wow.
That was awesome. Thank you both so much for your generous time. Deanna, great job leading the charge tonight. Here's our wrap up. In our wrap up, I'm going to go quickly with this. Adrian can be found on Instagram and TikTok. The way we say thank you to our creators, our editors, and anybody who has generously shared their time with us is to go out and buy their books. They donated their time. You go out there and buy their books, because if you're interested in what they have to say, you should be interested in what they are working on. You can pre-order Big Rig, Post Malone, and you can pre-order He Who Fights with Monsters. Adrian, how is that? Did I do all right selling it?
Yeah, you did a great job. I would deeply
job,
appreciate a pre-order on those books from everyone. So thank you. Yeah, thanks, buddy. All
right, here we go. So Sarah can be found on Blue Sky. I am told by Sarah that I'm getting tired. Ancestral Recall is ready on pre-order, and you're going to need to get this because she's editing it. But she also worked on Black, which I read and thought was really awesome and ahead of its time. and Medieval by Neil Clyde, who's a friend of mine and a friend of the show. So you've done a lot of stuff that is really awesome. Sarah, is Ancestral Recall pre-order right now or hitting the stands? I can't remember.
I believe the trade is hitting pre-order, or will be very shortly. But yeah, look out for it. And like I said, as of tomorrow, all 5 issues will be out in the world where it belongs.
And we should note, audience who are not regular viewers, for both Adrian and everything that's coming out from Med Cave and everything that's coming out from Ahoy, support your local comic shop. Go to them first, pre-order, and if you're feeling it, prepay, because really that's the way to support the network of comic shops that have supported us. We're wrapping up. I'm going to do the last bit before we do our social media wrap up. I know that Mike Fasolo left some food for each of our guests in the green room. Deanna, what did Mike leave? Because I'm not 100% sure.
So I had to decipher his handwriting, first of all.
Yeah, he writes like, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what is this, Fasolo? So for Sarah, it was pastel de nata, which sounds delightful, by the way. And Adrian asked for olives and chocolate, which could be great, could be not. We'll find out.
So, guys, first, another round of applause. We thank you so much for joining us. You've been wonderful guests. You've been generous with your time. We've gone way over the agreed upon contracted amount. I'm sure I'll hear from your agents. But thank you so much. Please, when you're in the green room, feel free to just hang out there. Don't go away. We might need you. Adrian, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are looking forward to seeing the next things that come out, especially my kids with Posty, as they said. They want to see what they go, Daddy, will you get to meet Posty? I said, I'm sure I will. So don't let me down, Adrian.
Come to New York Comic Con, and you met a lot of people at New York Comic Con this year. So
he certainly did in that cowboy outfit. He certainly did. A lot of people took pictures. And Sarah, thank you so much for joining us and staying up at a ridiculously late hour. My recommendation: just stay up throughout the night and just go right into
right to work.
Finish. The construction workers start at 8 o'clock. They do not care how much sleep I've gotten. I've learned that.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna put you guys in the green room real quick, and hold on. Let's put Sarah in the green room. Good job, Deanna. You did a wonderful job. You just beautiful, like masterfully running the show as better than expected. Hold on, let me just see what I'm going to ask them. What do you guys think? Number one, what do you think of the snacks that Mike left in the green room for you? Pretty good.
Fantastic. Breakfast of champions, absolutely.
Not bad. Not bad.
I'm thrilled at the choice, but I think I'm gonna forego the olives and eat the
chocolate.
Yeah,
not to twist your arms or anything. How great did Deanna do on her first job leading the hosting? Pretty awesome, right?
Fantastic.
You would have thought she's been doing this for years, but this is her first day without training wheels.
Oh my God.
Yeah, first day without training wheels, and she rocked it.
Yes.
Yeah, you did an incredible job.
I think we're going to have to keep her. So we're going to put you back into the green room real quick. So, Deanna, I didn't want to do it. Remember I said that I was off TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's complicated. So you're seeing me post again on TikTok. It is really me on TikTok. It's complicated.
Sometimes you just have to cut ties with a toxic relationship. You can't keep going back to your ex like that.
I know, and yet here I am possibly reposting it. But Patreon is the place to be for us. And we will continue to support it. Let me put on the play out music. And you know what? I'm going to bring our guests back, and I'm going to say thank you one more time. Adrian, thank you so much for joining. Sarah, it's so great to see you. You guys are awesome guests. I hope everybody buys your stuff. And thank you, Deanna, for leading with such confidence. You did a great job. And thank you all for joining us this Tuesday and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. to talk about craft and business and making comics. Next week will be our year-end recap. Don't miss it. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll see you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Good night, everybody.
Bye.